Now, if you just joined us, I just read from CBS News saying, oh, it's so wonderful. The 12-member board will create the legislation. Doesn't come from the bottom of the House anymore. Isn't debated. They will present it to the House and the Senate for an up or down vote. And then if they don't agree to what they're presented, then the Super Congress goes ahead and decides what to cut. I read you that from CBS News in the last segment. Article titled, A Summary of the Debt Ceiling Compromise. And by the way, the Senate just passed it. I mean, I am feeling sick at my stomach. Super Congress, here's another report, Super Congress debt ceiling negotiations aim to create new legislative body. That's Huffington Post. Okay, this is not debated. This is not debated. And yes, the Senate just voted 2 minutes ago. They've passed it. Incredible treason. We'll give you the vote count as soon as we get it. Larry Pratt of Gun Owners of America is our guest, and he, of course, put out a legislative alert saying Congress should decide whether Super Congress can impose gun control. And the way it reads, and I've got the latest text, I've got the Senate text, read it an hour before I got on air, it has language in it, and here's Harry Reid, quoted in the Associated Press, the Joint Committee, there are no constraints, Reid said on the Senate floor. They can look at any problem we have in government, any problem. It has an ability to look at everything. The power to tax, cut, regulations. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Council of 13 because the president has that veto. Talk about cryptic. Talk about creepy. And Gun Owners of America, legislative alert, Congress should decide whether Super Congress could impose gun control. Ron Paul says it's a disturbing power grab, establishes a new system of government. I've got his quotes here. He says this will allow unlimited tax increases, no more filibusters, no more amendments. We are wide open. It's like in Star Trek. The shields are down. We're just getting hit right now. I mean, this, again, I say I get chills. I used to get chills once a year when something freaked me out. I get them every 5 minutes now here on air. The hair on the back of my neck standing up. Total tyranny is being released. I'm going to try to be calm here, but the Senate just passed this. If we don't have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights, we don't have anything. Every other country that has gone this way goes to hell in a handbasket. Larry Pratt, I'm sorry to be getting emotional here, but I am completely freaked out.
I can tell when a guy's on a tear. No, this is kind of like the council in Plato where they go out behind the bulrushes and decide in secret what's going to be done, and then everybody else just kind of has to lump it. When this thing comes forth, when this Super Congress comes forth with some nutty idea, which could easily have gun control along with tax increases, it goes to the president. It would take 34 votes to sustain what all is going on. I mean, they've really set it up so you almost can't stop one blessed thing. We need to vote against so many people starting in the primaries next year. So many need to go. I sure hope people like Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, a plastics manufacturer, he just got so fed up with what was going on that he got talked into running, actually. He became a Tea Party favorite in the state, speaking to a number of places, and that kind of built up his popularity. We need people like that to come out of the comfort of our homes and to stand for office. But
if we allow a Super Congress to be set, and they kind of blandly go along and train us to accept it, they can start shutting off more and more true power of the House and Senate, and that's what this does. I mean, this
absolutely.
Have you ever seen anything like this, Larry?
That's why the first act of the next Congress, hopefully, is going to be to repeal this horrible piece of legislation which threatens everybody's agenda, not just gun owners, but they can do terrible things to property owners, to taxpayers, businesses. It is a game changer. They have decided that we don't need the House of Representatives to originate revenue bills. We'll just have the Super 12 do that. And as you said, the Council of 13, really, with the president thrown in for bad measure. So
my God.
It's just an extraordinary thing. And there were I think some fairly well-intended people that just got flummoxed, but there were some that knew exactly what they're doing, and I would include in that John Boehner and the Senate Minority Leader, Mr. McConnell, and of course, Harry Reid knew very well what he was doing.
Oh, yeah. Mitch McConnell 2 weeks ago proposed just giving the power of the purse to Obama. That's not his power to give.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
he's speaking for all. I mean, he can't do that. I mean, Larry Pratt, is this not classical treason? I mean, this is changing the form of our government.
Well, we had to change the form of the government because we can't stop spending like drunks locked inside the liquor store.
Oh, man.
They refuse to deal with the problem, and so they create another totally different, humongous problem. And meanwhile, the cuts for this year are going to be less than 2 days expenditure.
Oh, I've gone through the numbers. Most of it's in the next 10 years, and they never do that.
And that's what we call here fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's not going to happen.
It's like the Easter Bunny. Well, Larry Pratt, I mean, listen, this has all been done by design. We have the 10 governors now speaking for the states, the Governor's Council. We have the Rural Affairs run by the Defense Department and Homeland Security. You heard me earlier as I introed you. We have the ATF coming out and saying, well, we're just going to order you to do things because we couldn't get this law passed. And
they actually call them demand letters. We're demanding that you give us the information. And if the dealer doesn't, well, they've had his neck in a noose ever since he got his license, and they can pull that license.
But that's my point, Larry. I've never seen such a bum rush of tyranny. On every front, they're just doing whatever they want. Mm-hmm. I think they really are going for dictatorship. And I don't mean a dictatorship of Obama. You know, he'll leave probably. But a dictatorship of the bureaucracy and the special interest. I mean, have you ever seen anything this off the chart?
Well, like that family that I guess it was actually the kid that was raising a lot of bunnies, and they faced a monster fine from the Department of Agriculture because they didn't have the department's permission. There shouldn't be a Department of Agriculture. Where's that in the Constitution? Fining a little boy millions of dollars because he had rabbits breeding like, well, rabbits?
Well, but I mean, Larry, I mean, I'm asking you, have you ever seen such a brazen move? How would you describe this Council of 13?
This is something that even FDR wouldn't have thought he could have gotten away with. This is such a brazen strike at our liberty that, and you know that Boehner and McConnell are going to appoint wusses. So it's not going to be, Michelle Bachmann as one of the House representatives. It's, a bitter ender that is against all this wild spending. They're going to put reasonable people on there. And these reasonable people will be the ones that continue to lead us into dictatorship.
Well, they don't have the power. It's not in our Constitution to create a super Congress and say, we will originate the legislation from the top. I mean, this is classic tyranny.
Yep.
This is a larger version of Quartzsite where the police chief fires the mayor when he can't and fires 80% of the cops and they don't go along with it. This is a microcosm of these men up there transferring more power to themselves with Obama, and the White House is pleased as punch. Larry, we're seeing an acceleration here, and disagree if you disagree, but we're seeing a massive acceleration. Week to week, it gets crazier. Who would have ever thought corrupt government-run health care with the president's buddies exempt? Who would have ever thought ATF telling gun shops to do things that aren't the law? Who would have ever thought the ATF shipping guns to Mexico to blame the Second Amendment? Who would have ever thought wars in Libya with Al-Qaeda now recognized at the U.S. Embassy as the official government, literal, admitted, real Al-Qaeda? Who would have ever thought that we'd see all of this? I mean, we're living in the twilight zone.
Yeah, we got chickens coming home to roost. We've had the schools teaching us for years and years that we live in a democracy. Well, if people think that way, then the assumption is when I win an election, I can do anything I want because I won and I got the votes. That's not the way it works in a republic, and people don't understand that there are barrier limits. That's what the Constitution's all about. It is not alive. It is not breathing. It is there to chain you down when you work for me in the government.
Well, Larry, here's my question to you. This is the big issue. And how did we end up with a vote with the majority of the Republicans here voting for this? It was a majority of Republicans fact, I'm looking for the vote count here. I'll pull up in a minute. Who went for this?
Yeah, it was only about 69 that opposed it. And since there's, 240, give or take, Republicans, that means a humongous number went for it. And a pretty substantial part of the Dems went for it as well. And the ones that didn't were believing their own left-wing propaganda that somehow they were getting thrashed. Well, they'll take a deep breath one of these days and realize, hey, we just pulled off a coup d'etat. Not bad.
But this proves continuity of agenda. Bush with the banker bailout, Obama continues it. I mean, they just continue on where the other one left off.
They're part of the ruling class, and yeah, there's a Republican group of the ruling class and a Democrat part, and there are some differences, but by and large, except for some of the newbies and people who've been around for a while, like Bachmann and Steve King, you only got about 65 or so members of the House of Representatives that have any idea what a republic means, what a vote needs to look like if it's going to be a constitutional vote. And the rest of the 435 members of that Congress apparently don't have a clue. We're talking about, well, there would be a few senators in there too, maybe less than 20%, and all the rest, some 80%, are clueless. They think they can do whatever they want. Well, I think we need to have some political reprisals on these people. I mean, we need to be talking about see you in November.
Well, I agree, and I'm here to tell you, anyone that voted for this is either an absolute criminal traitor or doesn't know how to boil water, doesn't know how to tie their shoelaces. And so the 174 Republicans that voted for this absolutely must be removed. The 95 Democrats absolutely must be removed. The vote, 174 Republicans, 95 Democrats, for anybody. And it was mainly Tea Party people that voted against it on the Republican side. And we have a New York Times editorial today, and I'm going to read it later, that actually says the Tea Party are terrorists. They are the new terrorists. Go after them, or, basically arrest them.
Alex, that's serious, because when we start seeing language like that used, what is the proper thing to do to a terrorist? Well, to kill him. So they're using the kind of words that Hitler and Lenin and Idi Amin and Pol Pot were using. They're doing what Alinsky teaches. They are particularizing, personalizing, and marginalizing so that the enemy is really an enemy, and he needs to be liquidated, exterminated, just like dictators have done everywhere.
Absolutely. They're selling the idea in the New York Times, and I'm going to read the quote here in a moment, that anybody who actually wants to cut government, audit the Federal Reserve as a terrorist. Here it is out of the New York Times. It says, "Can't we do this right?" Thomas L. Freeman. And here's the quote: "Alas, at the Tea Party, it is so lacking in any aspiration for American greatness." Oh, yeah. So dominated by the narrowest visions of our country and so ignorant of the fact that it was not tax cuts that made America great. Oh, really, that's what it was fought over. But our unique public-private partnerships, across the generations. If sane Republicans do not stand up to the Hezbollah faction in their midst, the Tea Party will take the GOP on a suicide mission. No American politician was more allergic to debt or taxes than Thomas Jefferson. But he also, and it goes on from there. But listen, here's the bad news. Debt bill passes Senate, headed to Obama. Unsure of AAA USA credit rating will suffer from the spectacle. So the idea is anybody that doesn't want to increase taxes and go deeper into debt, you're the ones hurting America, not the people that did this, Larry.
In a sense, I guess we are terrorists. By that very article that you were reading, you can tell he is terrorized. It terrorizes the statists to think that we might take some of their power away and put them into the constitutional box they were intended to stay within. That does bring terror to them. They can't think of living by producing anything. They have to live by taking from all the rest of us. And, I think the rest of us are just about finished being taken.